midnight to 0:15. Working the night shift for the sheriff's department in Bergen County is usually a quiet affair. After 2 years on the force, you'd expect the worst of it to be late-night drug busts or the occasional bar fight. It's a low-crime area, so you get comfortable. You start to believe the darkness outside is just empty. But then there are those calls that remind you that the scariest monsters are the ones walking among us. 0:15 to 2:30. I remember one night in particular, a disturbance call. A scream had pierced the silence of a sleepy neighborhood. Usually it's a domestic dispute or a loud party, but when I pulled up, the house was a void. Every light was off, like the house itself was holding its breath. There was a minivan in the driveway. Someone was definitely home. The neighbor, pale and shaking, confirmed he was the one who called. He heard a blood-curdling scream, he said. The woman who lived there was usually alone, or with her boyfriend. The whole thing felt off. The front door was locked, as were all the windows, except one. In the backyard, a window was slid wide open. A red flag if there ever was one. I called for backup and climbed in. My instincts screamed to turn on every light, to banish the shadows. I called out for the woman, my voice echoing in the oppressive silence. Nothing. The first floor was clear. I hesitated at the bottom of the stairs, a cold dread pooling in my gut. I unlocked the front door for my backup before I crept up the carpeted steps. Halfway up, I flicked on the hall light. 4 doors stared back at me. Then a creak. It came from one of the rooms. I pushed the door open to a bedroom, dark except for the light spilling in from the hall. A woman lay motionless in the bed, just the back of her head visible. As I got closer, I saw the dark, spreading stain on the other side of the comforter. I yanked the covers back to reveal a nightmare. She'd been stabbed multiple times, the sheets soaked in blood. She was barely breathing. I radioed for an ambulance and did a 360, scanning the room. The closet. My gun was drawn, my hand on the knob, my heart pounding in my ears. I yanked it open. Empty. But then, a new thought struck me. The creaking sound. The bed. I dropped to my knees and lifted the bed skirt. And there, eye to eye with me, was a man in a face mask. I shrieked, ordering him to show his hands. He complied, sliding out from under the bed. I stood him in the corner until my backup arrived. The woman survived 6 stab wounds. The man under the bed? Her boyfriend. He'd discovered she had cheated on him. He snapped. It's a chilling reminder that the violence isn't always a stranger. Sometimes, it's the one you trusted. 2:30 to 4:45. My friend's uncle, Mike, told me this one. He and his partner, Steve, are Army vets. They're the kind of cops you'd want in a crisis. One night, they got a call from a frantic landlord. A tenant, a guy named Adam, had turned on every water source in his apartment, flooding the entire building. When they arrived, water was gushing from under the door. They forced their way in, wading through the water on the 2nd floor. They found Adam in the kitchen, shaking violently, his eyes wide with terror. "Adam, what's going on?" Mike asked. Steve went to turn off the water, checking the other rooms. Adam just stared, muttering something under his breath. Finally, he screamed it. "There are people in the walls!" Steve was in the bedroom when he noticed it, a faint, almost invisible line across the wall. A seam. As Adam's screams echoed from the other room, a sick feeling hit him. It was a door cut into the drywall. They drew their weapons and approached. Steve pulled the false wall open, and 3 sets of painted, feral eyes stared back at them. 3 people, painted and wild, were packed into the crawl space. They handcuffed them all. Months later, they discovered the 3 were part of a cult living in the woods. They had been trying to break Adam, who had a history of mental instability. The flood was his desperate attempt to wash them out of his own home. The sheer horror of it, the patience, the manipulation, the depravity, haunts Mike and Steve to this day. 4:45 to 7:30. Then there was the night of the blood woman. It started as a call for a suspicious person. A middle-aged woman with wiry hair was going door to door, knocking and speaking to people through their doorbell cameras. One homeowner showed me the footage. She stared into the lens for minutes, expressionless. Then she buzzed him. "Open the door," she said, a sickly smile spreading across her face. "I need blood." When he refused, she started punching the door, trying to rip the camera from the wall. The footage was pure nightmare fuel. She was carrying something behind her back. We had units all over the area, a full-on manhunt. Then, a breaking and entering call came in. A couple was hiding in their upstairs bedroom. The woman had entered their house with a weapon. We stormed in, guns drawn. There was screaming from upstairs. We cleared the master bedroom. The terrified couple was hiding there, but the intruder was gone. Then we heard it. A cackle, coming from a dark corner bedroom. It was pure evil, echoing in the dark. I flicked on the light to see her sitting on the bed. She was still smiling, a massive knife in her hand. The sheets were soaked in blood. Her blood. She'd cut her own wrist. Between her legs was a little girl's doll, drenched in her blood. We tried to reason with her, to talk her down, but she was lost. She laughed, rambling incoherently. We had our guns trained on her, trying to formulate a plan. Before we could, she sprang up with a guttural growl, knife raised, launching herself at me. I fired. Twice. I hit her in the arm. She dropped the knife, screaming and crying. We subdued her and got her to an ambulance. She was later found not guilty by reason of insanity, and is now in a mental asylum. For me, the horror wasn't just the attack. It was the feeling that the darkness she was lost in was so palpable, so real, it was like it had followed us all home. If you like it, then leave your comment.